And we are live with our 57th episode of Absolute AppSec. I'm Ken Johnson at CK Tricky on Twitter, joined with my co-host, Seth Law at Seth Law on Twitter. Seth, say hi.
Hey, everybody. Welcome once again. This is episode 57, and we're joined by a huge conglomerate this week. It's going to be fun. But before we jumped into the OWASP Women in AppSec program and everything that's going on there, we did want to mention OWASP Global in Tel Aviv. Ken and I will be there. We're teaching our code review course, so if anyone is interested in that, please sign up. The signups are, the class is filling up, so we'd love to have you. Outside of that, I think, it's just we're getting into the summer. There's other stuff that we're applying for, but I don't think there's anything else kind of on our radar as far as conferences go right now, even though there is a lot that is going on. I will be at DEF CON. Obviously, I'll be doing the Hacker Tracker stuff again this year. Ken, what else is on your plate?
Well, not necessarily on my plate, but just some OWASP conferences that are upcoming. I know that if you're interested in, so I think that we've got, I think OWASP has LastCon coming up, AppSec USA, AppSec Day in Melbourne, and I'm probably missing another one. But yeah, and as you said, the global AppSec conference in Tel Aviv. So, and then this year is the last year for DerbyCon. So if you can get tickets to that and you want to go, last year for DerbyCon. So, yep, I think that's about it for things that are going on, Seth. And I know we're going to skip the AppSec minute today because we have a lot of guests. This is going to be a fun one, and we just don't have time for it in the hour that's allotted. So, do you want to kick off introductions, Seth, or should I?
Yeah, you can go ahead. I was just going to say it's probably the AppSec minute. You just don't like to talk about XSS because that's the next one that's up. So
I don't like to talk about XSS. You're right.
Okay. Well then, yeah. Why don't you go ahead and jump into introductions, and we'll just kind of do a round table and see where things go.
Awesome. Yeah. And for the record, I mean, I like talking about CSP. That's become more fun to talk about than XSS. Okay, so I am going to try my best to get introductions right. Obviously, just as a whole, we've got the OWASP Women in AppSec Committee. We're going to talk about the background on how the committee was formed, upcoming activities, general things to know, how to get involved, all of that. But before we do that, we're going to I'm probably going to just roll off each of your names. And if you could just say hi when I say your name, then it'll be easy for people to match up. So I'll start with, on this guest list, Zoe Braderman.
Hi.
And Laura Donna Mancini.
Hi, this is me.
And she said the best way to say it is Vandy. Did you call her Vandy Verma?
Yeah, hello.
And Gita, and I hope I don't get this wrong because I didn't hear. It's Gita Handa?
Yes, Gita Handa. Hi, everyone.
Okay.
Hi, Gita.
And Jessica Robinson.
Hello.
Awesome. Did I leave anybody out? Did I cover everyone?
Catherine.
Catherine.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone.
So sorry about that.
Yeah,
Catherine, is it Ken Salato?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, perfect. Sorry, I'm going through a list, and for whatever reason, I didn't see the name. I didn't see your name on there. My apologies. Cool. So that's everyone. And Seth, I mean, I think the best thing to do is, like, I'm curious about sort of the history of how I got started. I was trying to look back through the archives to figure out the date, or around the time frame that the committee was formed. I wasn't sure if it was 2011 or 2013. But yeah, if someone could briefly cover the how the committee was formed, when kind of the history behind that, the timeline, etc.
So I think in 2011 at AppSec USA, there was the first Women in AppSec award, which was a woman's experience, their first time going to a global AppSec conference and just, sharing their experience and what it was like to, be introduced such a wonderful global community of, like-minded individuals committed to security, very smart and very technical. And so that's something that we really wanted to, continue and to make a little bit more structured, in addition to ongoing mentorship and just trying to get more women and more diverse contribution to the AppSec community.
Yeah, and to continuation to what Zoe said, we actually were to make a formal committee so that we have a proper structure to it, and we have area-wise or regional, I would say, leads for it. The committee was created along with the board. So this was the election was held in 2016, and so there was a huge poll which was sent out to the whole OWASP leadership, or the people who are part of OWASP as members. And on the basis of voting, we were elected. And so it's been quite some time now that we are part of the committee. And the next elections are due in 2020.
Right.
Yep.
So we all are in inception since 2016, we can say.
Yes. Another thing to note is, the variety of we as WIA officers. We have Jessica and Zoe in the States. We have Dita and Vandi in India. We have Loredana in Italy, and myself here in Ireland, even though I am from Latin America. So we kind of like are spread around the world, and it's really important for us to get to cover the different locations. Maybe try to get to maybe the areas that we will normally not have access to, maybe because of a weird language or something similar. So yeah, that was kind of like another important part, and we're creating and the kind of like organize the different main communities and maybe supporting communities as well.
It also seems nice because in that way, if like basically like AppSec EU has been in Ireland and the UK, and we obviously have OWASP all around the world, so it's nice. So I'd assume that your group probably gets involved with, and I guess we'll get into the various initiatives, but I'd imagine it's being that you have representatives everywhere, it's easier to get involved in the conferences and general activities that are going on in that OWASP community, and sort of be guiding some of that. I'd imagine it's diversity and inclusion just in general is probably one of the things you all are tackling. Is that a fair? Kind of a fair statement?
Yeah, and also Seth, glad to hear you're going to DEF CON, because we'll be representing there along with just in general hacker diversity. So trying to get other areas of diversity from the hacker's perspective as well. So I look forward to seeing you there.
Yeah.
Yep. Sorry. Another thing is, another thing is that in some cases we get.
Oops. Did Catherine get muted? Vandy did it. Jeez, that was mean.
I was clicking on her so that we can concentrate on her. Yes, that's better. I have a habit of highlighting people. So the moment I was, yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, no, like all I wanted to say was that it's important what you were saying, because the fact that we are kind of like spread around the world is it basically comes in really handy when we get invitations, or maybe in some cases people that are organizing events notice that we don't have not even one woman speaking at the event. So in some cases they reach to us and maybe ask for our support to maybe help them finding a woman that could maybe speak at the event, or maybe if we cannot find someone that is nearby, we will do it ourselves. So it's really, really, really nice to see that, you know, geolocations come in quite handy every now and then, even though, for instance, meetings in some cases are kind of like complicated because they're some people and very late for somewhere. So it's really nice. For instance, Zoe and Loredana had a couple of events a couple of weeks ago in Italy. So yeah, like geolocation is actually playing a really good kind of like in our game right now.
Yeah. Yes, I think this is important what you just said, because we really started this effort thinking really of diversity, you know, and diversity is also in culture, in location, in different way, you know, different country address security and women, you know, so to be able to understand the different way of doing this and to support locally, it's really, you know, a way you can really do something more, just not thinking from abroad how a country works, you know. So what was just said is that, you know, being global but with the local perception, it's something that we think it's a value also among the discussion that we have in the committee, you know, with different input coming from the different areas.
It's interesting to hear that some conferences may not even have one woman speaker. That seems it seems weird. That seems unfortunate, and I'm glad that you all are obviously tackling that. And on that note, you know, what are some of the key initiatives? You know, let's talk about the key initiatives, upcoming events that sort of tie into those key initiatives, and just the general roadmap. If someone could help kick that off.
So we're looking to kind of, you know, systematically build, you know, getting more women into their first AppSec conference to really fully, you know, do the LobbyCon, et cetera, and, you know, connect with the awesome community, get to go to trainings like Seth and Ken's and Wonderful Adventures, and others. And, you know, Vandy is giving a training again, you know, AppSec IL, which is awesome. And we're going to, you know, hope to continue them at each AppSec conference in addition to others, and really just, you know, try to engage diversity from the start. And yeah, at AppSec USA 18, that was a wonderful kickoff, Vandy. And also, you know, global knowledge exchange webinars that we do. And, you know, we constantly, I don't even think we've had one repeated speaker. We always, you know, seem to find Vandy is amazing at finding, and we all, you know, seem to kind of find other colleagues and people in our community to be able to present, which is wonderful. And we actually had the car hacker, the famous car hacker last time. Vandy was able to connect, and yeah, from various perspectives. And yeah, and then
so Zoe, when you talk about those speakers, is that just the online stuff that you're doing, or is that in person? Where is it that's happening?
It's actually both of that. So when we say trainings we've given at AppSec USA, we started off. We had first connect at AppSec Europe last year at London. Then we did a connect at AppSec USA. At AppSec USA, we thought we would do something for that, for the diversity and inclusion. So we had a free training for women. So it was more of an inclusion, not just women, but there were a lot of people from everywhere. And we had a web app pen testing training there. Then we had at multiple other conferences, which is regional conferences. And then we had at AppSec California. Now we have one coming up at AppSec Israel as well. So that's the training for women. And apart from that, the TED Talks that we do on a monthly basis. Sometimes if we have more speakers, we do it bi-monthly, like every 15 days we do it. And those are all online webinars.
Okay.
Wherein the speakers, this is the same format wherein it's a YouTube live. and speakers are across the globe, and we try to get the varied experiences speakers. It can be on the code review, the way you're going to give the training. So this month we have sessions on how to write a CFP. There are a lot of people who don't know how to write a CFP. So there's a lady who's heading a company. She wants to speak up about how to write a CFP because she runs multiple conferences across India. So we thought she'll be the best suited for it. So she said, I really be interested in giving. Then there is one person who wants to talk about JWT token attacks. So there's someone who's involved in ICS a lot, industry control standards. So it's about varied experiences on the webinar.
Okay.
So
No, that's great.
We talk to people, like we are talking to you, and you have good experience on code review. We would love to have you on the show and let the people know about the code review.
And that can probably be arranged. I'm pretty sure
For
Ken
sure.
and I are used to the format. So
For sure.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
we're used to it now. Yeah, no. I mean, and on the note of training, I did post the link to the training you're giving at Global at the Global AppSec conference. But for those that might not be familiar, can you just give a kind of a brief summary of the training?
Sure. So this training is more on the web app pen testing. We would be starting off with what web app pen testing is all about, giving the basics of it, and then how do you actually pen test an application using OWASP, ZAP, and Burp Suite, including the OWASP top 10 vulnerabilities and certain vulnerabilities which were there in the past, like insecure direct object reference and cryptojacking, all of that, including the top 10 vulnerabilities. And that's absolutely free for inclusion, whosoever wants to attend the training. And it's up live on the OWASP Israel site, Global AppSec Tel Aviv site.
Fantastic. And we did post the link so that it's totally out there. That can be that's available to everyone watching the podcast.
I would like to add also another comment to the great effort that Vandy is doing, but all the community, is that as a first outcome, of course, we have the training for the people participating, on different topics, very technical one, innovative one, or process, procedures, and so on. But I do think, considering what you were saying about women presence in conference, that it is also sometimes a very good opportunity for women to present, to start presenting their knowledge, experience in an environment that is, not yet a very wide one, but anyway of expert people. So, with people really understanding what you're saying and can comment on this. And this, I think, it's also a very good exercise for newcomers, women that want to start this work or are starting to open their presence in conferences, in workshops, in training, and so on. So this is also a byproduct that I think it's a great value, really.
Is for instance, last year we attend a conference in Spain, and we had a forum with the different, basically kind of like OWASP, WIA, software developer communities, especially with all the women from there. And we were discussing the different topics on how to, for instance, apply for the call for paper, maybe how to prepare to not to actually do the talk, and they were exchanging information actually regarding some of the hacker spaces that they had locally and like Spain wide, in order to encourage more people to actually get involved and basically know what's happening within the local community. Because in some cases we say, okay, I'm not going to go to the capital to talk in front of 300 people. I might feel more comfortable maybe just doing a small talk to, 10 to 15 people. And there are certain hacker spaces around Spain that actually help identify how many times you say, or how many times, you maybe kind of like double a little bit, or are you engaging with the public, how to maybe engage a little bit more, how to get to the point in which you can actually ask questions. ask questions as well. So it's important to kind of like have that kind of forums in which, you actually listen to the community and you listen to everyone's opinions regarding topics that are actually important for them, maybe the lack of knowledge that they have within the local community by itself, as the strongest points of each one of them.
I like the point you bring up about, well, there's two things. One, how to write a CFP is useful for pretty much everyone across the board, because I think during a few of our early episodes, Seth, when we're talking about like stuff around mentorship, we were talking about that's one of the difficulties for everyone is writing a decent CFP. But I think another thing that you bring up that's interesting is it's very nerve-wracking for anybody to go speak in front of a lot of people, but even more so when, let's say it's 295 men and 5 women in the audience, and that's super uncomfortable. That would be reversing that would be super uncomfortable, I think, for anyone. And so to give someone a platform that is like maybe more friendly to, their comfortability with public speaking, I think that's really amazing. And one of the questions, around, obviously we can link all day long to, the scope of Women in AppSec and what you're trying to accomplish. But I think, you've touched upon, here's a challenge, and that's sort of what I think we definitely are interested in, is like what challenges, whether they be resources, whether they be the conference organizers, whatever it may be, that you're trying to sort of use these initiatives to sort of address.
So one which actually Loredana mentioned or highlighted, that we want to have more women at the conference and be part of the bigger audience. So getting the passes for the conference alongside training, because the training is free for them. And we try and get even Zoe highlighted that we are trying to have a platform, and we are still working out on the scholarships wherein we can have more and more women going to the AppSec conferences, and we will be at DEF CON and Black Hat so that we can have the scholarships for women there itself, and we can tell them that you have a ticket to come to the conference and join it. And even once we have, let's say, 20-30 women, which is the minimum number that we are targeting, then we'll see if we can get them the travel as well, because once you add the conference ticket plus travel, that gives them the additional benefit that, yes, now I have everything. Now I can go and attend the conference, meet new people, connect with new people, and see what is the gate for new opportunities. Because at conferences, you tend to meet up new people, make new connections, and end up with great opportunities. I have done it in the past. I've made good connections. So the first time I met Zoe at a conference at AppSec USA, and we actually made really amazing connection.
Yes. Oh my gosh, almost immediately. It was awesome. And then with a lot of others too. And one thing that I found, getting to my first Global AppSec conference is that, really, really big names just remain awesome people. And I feel like you don't really get that in other industries or their communities, but mostly people, in the community are just really awesome and genuine and there for each other. And they don't let, their successes, I guess, get to their heads and their egos, and which is just really awesome. And I haven't experienced that anywhere else, among other things. So just really the value of, community and just being able to full on experience that for the first time. And actually that's why, so I wanted to, make it a point to like crowdsource stories of everyone's first AppSec conferences. And so far I got perspectives from some, and I hope to get from you, Seth and Ken. That'd be really awesome. As well as a few others that I'm, collecting as examples and then making it to the public, because there's really no substitute for that full-on experience and, combination of community and the projects.
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely right. I think about, Ken and I met actually, through a job, but there's been a lot of I don't know. I mean, my first like global conference was probably a DEF CON conference, right? And that would have been, and if that was pre-AppSec days, this was I mean, I think it was DEF CON 6 or 7, right? It was the first one that I went to, and it was a very small community, and it was very, I like what you're talking about with actually meeting other people in the industry that are like big names, right? And you realize that they're just people, and everybody's usually pretty chill, and they're willing to talk about what they're interested in, and it doesn't matter who it is, right?
Yeah.
That's always been the case. You know, even though back then, you know, DEF CON itself got pretty wild, in comparison with what it is today, and especially what like the AppSec conferences are. I feel they're, you know, that's a lot more focused on, hey, we're getting together to talk about security stuff. Back then, it was a lot of, hey, we're going to Vegas for a week, right? And you know, everything that goes into that. I do feel a lot more comfortable. Even me, like I feel a lot more comfortable at the AppSec conferences and at like the inclusive conferences nowadays, as opposed to what it was back then, that kind of party culture. So, but it's changed. Yeah, it has changed quite a bit.
At this point, we're lucky that, you know, at DEF CON, what happens in Vegas does not stay in Vegas, because the community expands from there rather than not. But that might have been, yeah, that's just my sense of humor there. But
no, it definitely was. It definitely was like, I mean, it was negative. I mean, in the sense that there were venues that wouldn't have DEF CON back. I mean, that's why, you know, the venues changed, is that they were just like, okay, you've destroyed, you know, the casino or the hotel casino, and all kinds of crazy things happening. And yeah, it's I would like to think that it's getting better, but definitely AppSec conferences seem a bit more professional than somewhere like obviously DEF CON.
Yeah, and then you definitely see the, you know, the O for open when you meet everyone.
Yeah, and you know, I remember the first conference I was, you know, that I read on mails or on paper, so the big names of experts in security. So I was a little bit, you know, afraid to go and speak with them, because I said they will think I do not understand anything. I'm not, you know, I do not have enough knowledge to communicate, you know. But after that, you start. And you really learn, you know, that you can speak and you can learn from people, and also, you know, from expert or non-expert, everybody can give you inputs and knowledge and so on. And I also, you were speaking about mentorship. That is something that we, you know, try to do with our efforts. And you know, it really works, because, for example, I met a young girl, you know, in one of these conferences. She wanted to relocate in Italy, and she didn't know how. So, you know, I supported her, and now she is an expert in security working here, and she's happy. So sometimes it's very useful, you know, to have this opportunity to really meet, networking, and share ideas.
That's amazing. We definitely have had a lot of guests on the show who that was, I mean, Seth, we've had a ton of guests that have said like their first job was like Jason White's a good example, was going to security conferences. And interestingly, this is the thing, is like they have also said the same thing. You know, there's that imposter syndrome feeling of just being nervous for like being, I don't know, technically inadequate or whatever, all the same stuff. But then I think where what you're doing is amazing, because I think there's anytime it could be gender, it could be sexual orientation, it could be, you know, anything really that makes you different from other people. Then you have everything that we all experience plus that, which makes it sometimes a really hard barrier to get through, to actually break through and make those connections, which then, you know, speaking personally, have helped me have a career, travel the world, those benefits you get from it, meeting all these great people. Breaking down those barriers makes it, there's twofold. One, it makes it easier for people to get into this community, but the other part is the community. From my perspective, the more voices contributing from different points of view, the better. I think that's really what your committee is one thing that I personally love that your community is doing. Seth, anything to add there?
Yeah, I mean, I was going to harken back to that, right? Like in some of our early episodes, we've talked about this, right? That the security experts or the security experience that people that people have and are able to contribute is very often tied to who they are as a person, right? Like what experiences they've had in their life, and like you and I coming up through different avenues definitely like pushes us in different directions when we're looking at an application, and that's why it's interesting to see what's coming out of different groups, right? Like your sponsorship of women, this other diversity angle. I know that there's going to be stuff and vulnerabilities and opinions that come out of there that I given my background would never think of, right? And that's where like I definitely see it as super valuable, not only to the person that's contributing, but also to the community at large. If we don't have all the voices, it's not a true global community, right?
Very true. Very true. And also, with other, kind of up and coming areas of AppSec research and AppSec, industry practice, whether it be industrial IoT and operations technology, which was, among the themes in Italy when I went and got to speak alongside Loredana. And so there are people from train company, the train sector in Italy, and a bunch of other sectors, and just trying to get their perspective, coming from the government operations technology perspective, and everyone to be able to exchange knowledge and diverse backgrounds in other regards is also very important. So in a way, they're both really diversity based and trying to get everyone's perspective, because there's a lot of uncertainty that we face in our careers as security professionals. So really being able to get everyone's input is awesome.
Yes, it's true, and it's also, of course, in my opinion, always changing, environment, technology, everything. So it's so fast moving that really, input from a different perspective, different knowledge, because sometimes, you address a problem with a different background, and so you can bring different value. It's something that I do think it's important. And I also think that an effort that it's quite important that Zoe just mentioned is that we are trying to find a collaboration with university research centers where young women start, to study and to decide, how to move in this field. So also there, it's an area that we try, to support, to get in touch, and to see how we can move.
Yeah, and as Loredana said, we've actually given few sessions for the universities. There's one university in Cairo, Egypt. We gave a session to them before they were going for a CTF. So that was a small workshop for 4 hours wherein we informed them about what web app pen testing is all about, what all flaws they can look for in the applications. And the similar kind of session we did it for another university in US. That was again through the virtual session. It was for St. Cloud University, Minnesota. So across the globe, we've given that, and at local or regional places we have given, like in India we have given, and Loredana has been part of universities in Italy, and Zoe has also been associated with certain universities. So it's kind of a connection that we are trying to build with universities and even with schools, because now when we say cybersecurity is actually necessary in the schools as well. So we're working on the curriculum piece, that what exactly we can teach children about, what information we can give them about cybersecurity. Because when I say my kid can actually operate an iPhone, he knows how to open the iPhone, he remembers it, and he's just a kid, and he can open apps, and operate internet. So it's a big thing. We should educate. So this small kid might not be we cannot teach, but at least the girls or the students from 5th grade till 8th grade, we can do it.
And I mean, on that note, can we talk a little bit about basically, like, let's say you're wanting to get into AppSec, and your advice for anyone that who's wanting to maybe look to interact with women in AppSec, need some advice on how to basically get into the field. That's something we typically ask anybody who joins the podcast who has done or does mentorship. So any advice you could kind of provide there would be awesome.
Sure. So on the advice piece, the OWASP Women in AppSec page is open for all. If they want to reach out to us, all of the leadership is listed from the board to the regional members. They can reach any of us. We are always responsive to it. There is a OWASP-WIA@OWASP.org mailing list, which goes to everyone, which is part of the mailing list. And we would encourage women to join that mailing list so that they can communicate, they can discuss with the wider audience, not just us, because we want to have an inclusive environment, and not just us mentoring them, but all of the people sharing the inputs. So let's say if I have knowledge on application security, but I might not be very confident about XXC, but among the group wherein 1,000 women are part of OWASP Women in AppSec, so there's one woman who's a champion who might want to share their inputs. So just be part of the group. If you still have any doubts, you can send out one-to-one note also. And OWASP also has a mentorship Slack channel wherein you can ask for the mentors and be a mentee to somebody, not just us. So that Slack channel is really, really helpful. I've got amazing mentors, and I am getting a lot of benefits from the chats that we do it on a bi-weekly basis or a monthly basis.
Awesome. And I'm putting the Slack info, by the way, for the OWASP, both Women in AppSec, as well as the just how to get started with OWASP into chat now.
Yeah.
Are there? Sorry, I'm trying to talk and type and do the same thing. So cool. I'll put those links in. So are there any one question I had, which I know is probably a little weird, but I was always curious, like, have you received pushback from from any difficulties with trying to get these initiatives or launched, or is it generally pretty good from the community?
So this question, we all three will give our inputs, because we have seen, I wouldn't say pushbacks, but difference of opinions from people in the community. So we gave a training at AppSec USA and then at AppSec California, which went well. But for AppSec Israel, there was a huge mail chain that went through. If you'll see, there were 50 discussions on that email chain, and everyone has their own opinion about it. We wouldn't say they were wrong, but it was more of a conflict of opinion. Like, we want to support more of diversity, but they said that this needs to be changed in the verbiage of their email, and somebody took it in an all different way. So we would say that there are sometimes few pushbacks, but there are amazing people to support us, who actually guide us to the right way, that which way we should be taking, because there are n number of ways going forward, but which way to take, sometimes we need a guiding light, and not the females, but the male members, they do help us in getting to the right path. And that conversation also ended in the right direction, not just even we did not take it in a wrong way. We tried to share our point, that what we feel and why do we want to have such training at OWASP conferences, and why free. Because when we say a word free, that gets a lot of question. Why do you want to give a free training? if you have knowledge, share it with trust me, I've got these questions that if you have knowledge and if you want to share it, why shouldn't you get paid for it? But that's the main goal of our initiative and the community. That we want to share the knowledge and bring more women to be part of the global audience.
Yeah, my guess is you're, again, going back to lowering the barrier, making it more approachable. In this case, just, I mean, financially more approachable to be able to offer free training. So that would be my assumption. I don't know your answer, but that would be that would make sense to me. You know.
Yeah, absolutely.
By the way,
that's one point.
Go ahead.
No, I said that's actually one of the point. And to add on, so what I felt in the first few conferences, that women actually ask a lot of less questions. We feel little intimidated, even though the environment is not. Trust me, even though the environment is not, but it's how we have built and it's how we have evolved. So to make them comfortable, we thought, let's gather them in another room. And even when we started off on our first training, me and Zoe both were in the room, and to ask women questions, like to make them ask questions, we had to do a lot of work. We have to make them comfortable for an hour or so, and then they started asking questions. How to set up a VPN? Why this is not working? That is not working. And then they were comfortable. Yes. So it's not someone's issue, but it's more of that we have to start coming up also. So it's just that we don't ask questions. We should ask questions.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's, you know, because Seth and I have noticed that, not in particular any gender, race, orientation, otherwise, but more so just in training, it's hard to get people to open up if they feel like people will be judging them. So, you know, I think one of the things we do in our courses, we absolutely walk through our mistakes, try to pinpoint pretty heavily that like, yeah, you're going to make mistakes. Nobody's perfect. Here's, you know, things that bit us before, you know, try for that reason. I think that you're right on the money. Like, you need to get people to open up, to be willing to ask questions and not feel, and this is the important thing, is just not feeling like they're going to be judged by other people, or, you know, make it so uncomfortable that they're not going to get something out of it, especially with training, because Bendy, I'm sure you can speak to this. Like, with training, you really need people to be, it needs to be interactive. People need to be able to, you don't want to move on from something if somebody hasn't fully grasped what you're talking about. Otherwise, everything else after that, in most cases, you know, the next hour is going to be pointless if you have no context of what you're building upon.
Absolutely agree to your point, because that's important to us also as a trainer, that what they are learning, that whether the content that we have developed, it's useful for them. More than the monetary or other benefits, it's the connection that we are building up with the people who are part of the training.
Yeah, sometimes, in fact, if you notice, they come, you know, to ask you questions when it's coffee break, or when, you know, it's finished. So, you know, it's like, I don't want to do it in front of everybody, because I don't want to be seen as naive with not knowledge, but I need the question. So you put back the answers when everybody's back in the room, and try to show, you know. So it's
yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, and it's very common, right? I remember the first time that I gave, you know, as a Westerner, I gave training like in Singapore, right? Like, and just even cultural differences. It wasn't gender differences, but cultural differences. You know, there was a couple people in the course that were like from Australia, and you know, they were a lot more engaged, and it was like the whole, oh, I have to save face, I can't ask questions. They would come up and do it one-on-one, but in the larger group, it was like I had to adjust my training style because of who I was teaching to. And I think that in general that happens quite often. Is, you know, the more experience you have as a trainer, the more you learn to deal with those. And that's where you giving all of these different courses and giving it out for free, like letting people engage on the level that they can is more helpful than just, hey, this is a one and done situation, or if you want to engage over the internet, that's fine, versus coming in person. Multiple avenues is definitely the key to success. At least, that's how I'm seeing it. So was everybody able to answer that question that Ken asked about, blockers, I guess, is really what it boils down to in rolling out the program? Loredana, were you able to answer that?
Yes, I do agree with what Vandy said. My feeling is that we, at least in my knowledge, we never really found really blockers, someone that was not supporting us on, really discussing the effort we were doing. What I do think is that it's sometimes you have to really understand the culture from where the questions or the comments arrive, because sometimes you read something with, for me, Italian background. So, I don't see so many problems in doing something, while perhaps in another country, this can be felt, as a problem or something that you should not do or something like this. So in my opinion, and this is what we are really doing, is trying to understand also when we find some comments that we do not feel comfortable with, to try to understand what is really behind, to see if it's sometimes it's not, I do not agree with you, but given my region situation, I do feel that this is, what should be done, and so. So I think it's important also this, because this is diversity as well. When you address women in different region, or generally speaking, it's important that you also understand what they have behind in their university, in their working environment, in their family, sometimes, if they are still studying. So it's really, you have to move carefully in that area. So it's not a block. It's understand how you can really address the need there.
Right. And, such feedback is really important. And one of the things I love about OWASP is, openness for feedback. And it's quite possible that, so in general, that was one thing I was a little bit slow to learn, I guess, getting into technology due to extreme introversion. But then, figuring out where and how to voice my opinion. And then that was, a big part of it. So that and speaking, again, getting into technology, partly due to introversion. So it was, an interesting kind of concept. So in general, that, similar dynamics in terms of, voicing feedback and knowing how to respond, etc. But just generally remaining open, sometimes kind of seeking feedback before it's even given in that regard, because again, you never really know what's behind it, but then each of us try very hard to seek such reasoning behind that feedback case by case, because it's very, very important. And also, one other thing that I find is that because I think most of us are very inclusive by nature, sometimes it's difficult to see that there's still, a lot that we need to do to grow, especially for the newcomers. But it's kind of, we almost intuitively miss that because we're so used to the open community at this point. So it's not really at the top of our minds when we just go and have a wonderful conversation with our community members.
Yeah, and I can see that being an issue, right? I mean, in general, the community is different than other communities that are out there as far as like openness goes and how we engage. And I know, like, most of the community has natural, like, introverted attributes, right? Like, they really do. And so getting people to start talking and learn how to navigate those. I mean, how would you go about teaching someone or advising someone on doing that? Like, because not everyone's going to go up and talk to someone about something that they're interested in. They're just not, even after a talk. How would you advise someone to do that, Zoe?
Well, depending on the circumstance, there have been a lot of people I try to tell them to voice up because it's awful how I see their careers are being held back. So I try to humorously ease it out using statistical references, and just in general, anything kind of lighthearted probability jokes, like the probability of anything good happening for you are only at a hard 0 if you don't try to voice something, if you don't let yourself have that. And yeah.
No, I mean, I definitely, I harken back to early in my career, when I was, the first like real job, right, corporate job that I had. And I remember always feeling it, we talk about imposter syndrome all the time. And I remember feeling that just even in like the little like team meetings that we had, right? Like, oh, I'm the new kid on the block and I don't know anything. And so for the first 6 months, I don't think I said anything, right? Like I would sit in these meetings and I'd write stuff down, never voice my opinion, even though I had experience in doing the sort of things that we were doing in that corporation, I just wouldn't speak up. And it wasn't until exactly what you're saying, Zoe, it wasn't until I actually flipped my mindset and was like, what's the worst that's going to happen, right? And, the upside is much, much greater than the downside could be, right? At worst, they just ignore what I'm saying. But at best, I get my ideas implemented and I do it in a way that I want to do it. So
yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
good. So I know we're at almost an hour. Sorry, Ken, go ahead.
No. Yeah, actually, keep going.
Yeah, I know we're almost at an hour, but I did want to give people an opportunity to know where they could, meet you face to face, like figure out where you're going to be next and kind of what the next activities for Women in AppSec is. I know we've got the global conference that's coming up next month, but if each of you could just kind of give us a short rundown of what's on your plate, what's in the near future, and then also, kind of the overarching activities that are going on. Bendy, do we want to start with you?
Sure. So the next we have OWASP AppSec Israel Global. And after that, we have Black Hat coming up. Apart from that, we would also be at DEF CON and Diana Initiative. And post that, we have AppSec USA and AppSec Amsterdam. And in India, there's another conference during the same time as Amsterdam. That's a Kerala police conference called Kukon. We would be there as well. We will have a training there for women. After that, we will have to see. But yes, these are the conferences that are lined up. So this year actually started really well. We started off with the AppSec California. We were at OWASP Seasides, which was a local event in India, wherein we provided the free trainings. So it was a free conference for anyone to attend. So, and also we had a free track wherein the volunteers were women, trainers were women, and the participants were women. So we had a track there. Then now after that, we had a meetup at Italy, wherein Zoe and Loredana were there. Loredana has been amazing coach in Italy, and she's been leading the efforts from there and featured multiple times in the magazines. So that's from my end. I would let Zoe and Loredana speak more about that.
Okay.
Yeah. So we will be in just in the middle of May present with a discussion table on women in security for a conference in Italy called AppSec. Then we will organize in June. I'm speaking more about European activities, of course, just to show that everybody can find us in different places that are nearest to the people that wants to meet us. Then in June, we will have a meeting at the University of Brighton, with the university, so in UK. Then in September, there will be the OWASP Italy meeting where we will be present also there again. It will be in north of Italy. So, of course, about Amsterdam and the other one in Tel Aviv, just Vandy told you. So these are the more, let's say, local and focused meetings that we are planning.
Great. And then Zoe?
Yeah, so pretty much those, and yeah, so far those are the upcoming ones, and I think we'll just definitely keep you posted on Twitter and everything. We're also glad to announce that we had a recent launch from Lauren and Catherine in the UK, starting a WIA London chapter, which is really great, especially. Yeah, and so any other upcoming events in addition to the global conferences, and trying to expand to other InfoSec conferences as well, and also get them to join the wonderful community of AppSec, which, and you guys were discussing the distinction and how we are, unique even within the InfoSec space. And yeah, just generally, keeping in touch about all these things.
And to add on to what Zoe and Loredana said, you can follow OWASP on Twitter and InfoSec Girls, and you'll get all the information for the upcoming conferences that we will be at, the colleges or any schools that we will be at.
Great. That was that. Yeah, that was going to be the next thing I was going to ask is, social media. I know there's the OWASP WIA account.
Yes.
Obviously, that's, we'll link to it from the episode and make sure that everyone knows where that's at. Because that's a primary source. I always tell people, InfoSec kind of lives on Twitter for good or bad, right? That seems to be where a lot of it happens, along with all the memes that, we have people post. So good.
I have something to say. I have something to say. So we have one webinar coming on this Saturday. We have announced it on the Women in AppSec meetup page. Please do RSVP. It's for anyone to attend. There are a lot of men asking whether can we be part of it. Yes, it's a YouTube live. You can subscribe to it and you can be part of it.
Great. And what's the topic?
So there are 3 topics that we would be speaking. So the 3 sessions that are there, one would be on the secure code review. The other is on how to write a CFP for a conference. Then the other would be, the third one is on JWT token attacks.
Cool. Good to know. Yeah, we'll post that out and we'll send it out as well. We'll retweet the OWASP WIA account when it mentions it. But let me think. Yeah, it's been great to talk to you. Thank you all for coming on. I know it's a little jumbled when we get so many people, but we do appreciate the support and the conversation. Ken and I have been saying that for a long time, that like diversity is something that we would like to see more of in the community, and even like on our podcast, right? We have our circle as well, but getting more people involved in the discussion is always a great thing.
Yeah, it definitely takes a lot of making it a concerted effort to basically, to grow outside the network, which is not always comfortable in the sense that, it's always easier with people, but I think that's why I bring that up, is that's sort of the whole point, right? Reaching out to a broader community.
Yep. Great. So yeah, we've been going for over an hour. Like, these always go by way faster than I expect. I think that's just in general, when it's something that we're all interested in, it goes quickly. So
yes, time.
But time flies. Any last minute thoughts before we go ahead and end it? Loredana, any last minute thoughts?
No, I really wish to thank you for this opportunity, and for the opportunity, to spread our voice and to support us. So really, thank you very much. And also that you accepted to give a talk in one of our meeting. I wrote it down.
Well, we can't take we definitely will love to do that for sure.
Yep.
And Seth, I think I posted, if there's any, I'm trying to think, so we did put the link if you'd like to join the Women in AppSec Slack for OWASP. And if we've missed any links that you need, I tried to put them in. I think we both tried to make sure we kept up on the YouTube live chat and in our Slack. But you can either go into our Slack and ask, or you can go on Twitter and ask or go into the Women at AppSec Slack. Either way, if you need some links and we forgot to paste them in, that's where you would go. So to get that info.
Great. Any last minute thoughts, Vandy?
I would say thank you so much for inviting us. It's a great platform, and it was more of a candid conversation than just the formal talk. So it went on really well, and the time actually flew. 1 hour just went by.
Yeah, always wonderful.
That's what we
Thank
aim
you.
for.
Yeah.
That's why we're not sponsored. We can
Sure, yeah.
we can have more of a conversational sort of without an agenda type deal. So
Awesome.
Well, again,
Thank you for your
we
time.
appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
So
Thank
definitely
you.
appreciate when people spend their time. Time's the one thing you can't buy, right? So
Absolutely.
Well said.
Well, good. Well, thanks everyone for joining us. Anyone that's listening, find us on Twitter, Slack, email, however you want to, or any of the podcasting platforms. And hopefully we'll see everyone soon. Ken, anything else to add before we end this one?
nope. Just a big thanks to the viewers. We're gonna promote this episode like crazy to make sure that the link gets out there. Again, thank you for your time with the committee. I think that's about it. And don't jump off just yet. We're gonna stop the broadcast here in a second. We good to go?
Yep. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.